Hey, how's it going? Welcome to Experience Points. You can call me Wormy. My real name's Russell. And I'm a software engineer. I make video games for a living. And on the side, I also make video games. And one of the things I decided to do was to, this time, as I started one of these side projects, I wanted to capture the process. I wanted to invite the world to come check it out and see what we're building. Maybe we'll teach some things. Maybe we'll chat and just hang out and have a good time. Maybe you'll see what it's like to build video games, see what goes into it. In particular, we'll be working on Unity. We use Unity as our game engine. We're going to make a VR AR game. In particular, this is going to be an AR game, and sort of the broad sketch of the outline. The idea is that we'd like to basically have sort of like a creepy shooter, some kind of a like horror-based shooter. I'm working with our company Atlantica and another friend of mine. He has done some of the initial work to sort of begin to set up as he was screwing around with some of the Oculus stuff. And maybe at some point, we'll do a show where we kind of start from the beginning and get everything set up, because that does take quite a lot of time. It's a bunch of effort to get everything squared away. But I've spent today getting streaming things squared away because I've never done streaming. I figured it would be an interesting challenge, and I've spent pretty much my whole day setting up accounts and all that kind of stuff, so we can open Broadcaster to get that working. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop in. I don't know what my schedule is going to be just yet, but I'll try to come up with a regular schedule so that you guys know when I'll be on. And if you don't see me online, you can hopefully catch me in the recorded versions of this, or recorded in YouTube. And the idea here is to try to show you what it's like to make this game from soup to nuts. We'll show you all the ugly bits of it. And hopefully we'll show you a lot of cool things too. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask away. But in the meantime, let's get at it. All right, so what am I looking at here? The first thing I'm looking at is a project that was set up by my friend here. And what I want to do is I want to take a look at this both in Unity and in my code editor, which is called Rider. Different engineers use different pieces of software. Everybody's got their own, their favorites. I happen to like Rider. I believe it was built off of another editor in the past called Eclipse. I think that's where its roots are from. It was back in Java days. But Rider is where it's at right now. At least for me. A lot of people use Visual Studio Code. That's a very common thing. It comes for free with Unity when you set it up, so that's hard to argue with. Obviously, I don't have that. It's a little bit different. If you're trying to look for particular tips on that, then you'll have to ask there. But if you have any questions on Rider, feel free to ask those, and I'll do my best to answer them. But let's start. So I'm looking at this thing, and I have not done VR development pretty much all summer. Kind of took the summer off, hung out with people, hung out with family. It was lovely. And now we're trying to get back into it. So as I'm sort of taking a look at what my buddy has set up here, I have to figure out what exactly did he get working with. He told me that most of the stuff that he had set up in here is actually from the Oculus developer kit. I do have some errors already. Cool. All right, I'm not going to worry about these for the now. One thing that is, kind of like, I don't know, Unity veteran tip that's both good and bad. So take this as you will. If you can clear out errors, then they're generally transitory. Maybe there'll be an editor-based issue, some small thing that maybe doesn't matter, maybe it does. But if you can't clear out the error, odds are there's something else going on, maybe a compiler error or something like that. And then you can sort of chase it down and make sure you solve it. Obviously, all errors are bad. You really don't want any. But, you know, look, over time you work with a lot of different SDKs and these things appear. But let's go ahead and sort of scan around and see what's going on. I'm also looking, I believe that when I grab this from the repo, yes, if I look at the package manager, I should see all the packages and all the assets that I have installed in this particular setup here. Not in my assets, but what's in the project here. So, as we can see, the Meta XR package has already been added. There's a whole video just on that. I apologize we're not jumping with that, but hey, my buddy did all the hard work for that for me. Why shouldn't I just let him go with it? But one of the nice thing is that means I can see here that the Meta package is installed, and I believe there was this. I haven't, again, I've been away for a couple months not doing Meta development, but they've been really hard at work trying to improve this package with the Unity integration. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to first pop this guy open. So once you install it, then you'll see that there's a little icon down here which you can go basically open up the building blocks panel, which is one of the things I wanted to show. Let's see, is that going to show up on stream? Oh, it doesn't. Hold for a moment. I will add that little, let's see, I need window capture. And I'm going to make a new one, and this is going to be called Unity Building Blocks. Obviously, I'm brandy new to streaming. I've never done any streaming other than at a company I used to work for, WB Games Boston. They used to be called Turbine. That was the company name before Warner Brothers acquired them. And we worked on a game called Infinite Crisis. And I did do some streaming for that, but I was sort of using the equipment and using the accounts that were all set up. I didn't do the setup, so this is a little new for me. But anywho, let me see. Where is... doesn't see that window. That's interesting. Which makes me wonder if it's going to miss all these windows. Yeah. Well. Oh, you know what I can do? I can cheat. I can dock the window. Hey, there we go. That's a good way to cheat. All right, so there is these building blocks that the Unity plugin, or excuse me, the Oculus plugin. I guess it's the Meta plugin technically. I'm gonna call it Oculus a million times just because it used to be Oculus. You get it. What they have is they have all these building blocks. That is, you can drag and drop a bunch of these elements right into your scene in order to test them out. And that is what I believe my friend did. I believe that's what all these different building block objects are. But I just wanted to show you where that panel was and what it looks like, because that's a good way to sort of make a new scene and drag some things in and start to screw around. The most important thing to drag in, and there are instructions out there. Also, I am not an XR/AR expert. I'm fairly new to this. We did make a product and ship it under Atlantica for the Apple Vision Pro. It's called Smallbots. Not many people played it, unfortunately. Pretty tiny little game, but pretty neat little thing. And we did some work trying to add an interesting control scheme, since you don't have controllers when you're using the Apple Vision Pro. But this time around, we're trying to maybe scale down how complex we're trying to be, how ambitious we're trying to be, and work with for the Quest 3. And that does have controllers, and we do intend to use them. So that ought to be pretty good. All right, so what we're looking for here, the most important thing that you add to a scene is the camera rig. I'm sure that there's a website. I don't have it up in front of me, or at least I don't have it shared in front of me. Hold on, let's see if I can pop it open. I've been very careful when I set up the streaming not to share everything in the world, because who knows if I accidentally dox myself. But one of the things that is pretty useful is the Meta Quest for developers site. And well, I'm trying to find where I have it here. Kind of one of my windows. There we go. All right, set up Unity for XR developers. We'll share that window. So let's see here. How do I add? When I take that one out, it's funny how that goes away. I'm dragging a window that you guys can't see because Open Broadcaster thinks it's another window. That's fine. But for the moment, how about we add another window? It's going to take forever. Okay, well, we got this one at least. There we go. All right. So now you guys can see another web page here. Apologize that took forever. Hopefully we'll have that in the future. But this window, which has the documentation for the Unity development framework for Meta. Why it's specifically Meta Horizon? Great question. I guess they're always changing branding and everything. I don't know. It's a thing that happens. And so it's very easy to lose track unless you're like in it every day and you're working on it every day and you're really sort of soaking in it. You definitely can kind of lose track of what everything's called. That said, I'm sure this will be fine. This is what you're looking for. Developers.meta.com. And when you go into setting up Unity for XR development, that's a whole bunch of what you'd be doing. There's a lot of work in this. It takes quite a long time, but you kind of work through it. And in the end, what you get is you end up with the device is set up on your machine. You have an integration here with the package integration. You set up your build settings in Unity to be set to Android because ultimately the device is basically like a little Android OS. It's almost like a mobile phone in some ways, the output device. And then what you end up doing is way back in Unity, on the most sort of simplest part, you add a camera rig. And this camera rig is what is sort of representing, the headset as it's looking around in space. And then within that, you have a bunch of other sub-elements. There is the tracking space, which is meant to be, this is something I don't have any experience on, which is sort of understanding the room around you. That's sort of kind of relatively new technology that they've been improving on. When we messed around with it on a project a while back, it really wasn't in good shape. It wasn't in a position that we really wanted to. I couldn't make heads or tails of it at the time. Didn't seem to work very well. My buddy has promised that it's been much improved, so that's a thing we want to play around with because the dream here is to do an AR game where your headset scans the room that you're in, it scans the space that you're in, and it detects the surfaces that are around your room. So maybe it sees the walls, it sees the ceiling, it sees the tops of tables, it might see, maybe, I don't know how complex it is with the shape of outlines and things, but the idea is that once it understands that space, obviously a portion of that was originally used for sort of the guardian system, which is how you don't, smack your head into the wall or, whack something with your hand while you can't see through the device. But now in sort of more recent iterations, you can get that data, get that information about the space around you, and you can use it to do very interesting augmented reality things like you have, creatures that are going to bust through the wall, or they're going to spawn from the wall, or maybe they're going to fall in from the ceiling, things like that. So the idea is the device will track a room and understand sort of the space in that room. When you're looking in Unity, this at the moment, so I expect somewhere at some point I will learn more about how is that represented in Unity, how do I get access to it, either programmatically or, I doubt I would see it in the hierarchy here, but maybe there'd be something along those lines. This tracking space is meant to be the sort of volume of space that represents like what you are in. Now, I don't think that the tracking space contains, the walls and all that kind of stuff yet, but maybe at runtime that gets built in. I'm not really sure. We'll find out. Under the tracking space, within it, you have all these different anchors, and these anchors are the Unity points that will represent in sort of Unity's understanding of the world, the different pieces of the headset and the parts of it. So the left eye anchor is obviously the point in space where the left eye of the headset is. The right eye is the point in space where the right eye is. The center eye is obviously the center kind of between your forehead. That would be where that is. So this tracking space is sort of capturing all that. The left hand, I don't know, do I zoom in on this guy? Yeah. Do I have a thing? No, I don't. The left hand is where's the left controller or the left hand. It'll intersperse between them both automatically in a pretty cool way. Or the right hand is obviously where your right hand is. So this is where these things are in space. And you can see already he has added this, gun. I don't doubt that it shoots. I think it's just a model at the moment. Yep. This looks like it's just a bunch of boxes. Yep. So this is just like geometry he made to show you have a gun in your hand or whatever. Cool. So this thing is attached to your right hand. And so as I move my right hand while the game is running, that's how the gun remains attached to the right hand. He's also got this scanner window because another thing, let's see if I can zoom. Well, I don't know where that is. This is my first time in here, so I'm learning all this at the same time. Here he's made another camera inside, and then there's a scanner for invisible objects. These guys that are red, these are like these models here that are standing up. So this is some other library. I forget where he got this, but imagine he's just got some figure. Doesn't really matter who or what it is. But he made these, and these are somehow, he's got them on a layer called scannable. And so somehow this scanner, this thing that he's got, when we play the game right now, in your right hand you have the gun, which I don't think shoots, but that's okay. But in addition, there's like a window that he put, like a scanner, that when you look through it, you can see things that are sort of marked invisible. So the idea is, as you're maybe looking around the room, it's like you have a scanner in your hand, and that scanner is sort of identifying things that are invisible. So that's what this stuff is. There's obviously quite a lot more going on here, but we'll figure it out. All right, there's other building blocks here from Unity. So all this is sort of the basics. And what's in the game at this very second? Why don't I run it? Maybe I can show you. Let's put on the headset and see how well this streaming captures it. One trick is, I don't know, yeah, you can see me. When you hold the headset in your hand, this little sensor right there detects when the headset's on your head. And when you're developing, it is a pain in the butt to be always putting it on your head, taking it off your head, and sometimes you don't want to. So what I do is I just kind of put my thumb over the sensor, and I kind of hold it, and I slide over as if this was my head, so it's kind of roughly-ish in the right position. And then when I hit play, let's see what Unity view we get. I might have to switch it. Oh, look at that, it's working. It's blank. There we go. All right, so right now, as you can see, as I move the device, it's like my head is in the game and I'm looking around, kind of faking it. And if I take a hand controller here, I'll have to like put it awkwardly in front of me. Obviously its orientation is whack. There we go. Its orientation just got fixed. And now this scanner thing is there. Now, you can't see this on the capture that you're seeing, but when I look through the lenses, I actually see kind of like an orangish box, and then some items have been highlighted in red. And if I look around here, oh, there's a guy. So my hand, you can see, is sort of moving this rectangle. That's sort of the little occlusion window. There's a guy that's just, I don't know, he's just sliding past. It's fine. So here I'm getting, all right, I can see what's going on here. You're also noticing we have no background. We have no world back there. So that's on purpose. When I'm looking through Unity, right now, the device is connected through the link cable. And when it's connected through the link cable, you don't get AR pass-through, in Unity. Unity doesn't see that. If I put the headset on, I see it. Let me actually validate that. I'm going to put the headset on right now. Do I see it? Yeah. So when I put the headset on, then I'm seeing pass-through. Of course, I'm dumb. I took my glasses off. You know what that's going to do? I'm like, why is the game all blurry? That's why, you idiot. Okay, so now that that's on, so I'm seeing pass-through, and I can see, that guy's moving around, and he's red. He's obviously that red coloring is being used to sort of identify things that your scanner would pick up. This looks way cooler than what you guys are seeing, because you're seeing basically blackness. I'm seeing an interesting window that is putting a video effect on the pass-through. So imagine everything in black is the room around me, but then this other window that you can't see very well, but is sort of, I don't know, whatever. It's a rectangle that you can't see. It's providing a video effect, which makes that little area that I'm looking through kind of like a little scanner window that has a cool orangey outline effect. I wish I could show you, but I can't. Don't know how. Let me try this one actually. What is my other output? Is this working? Nope, it's garbage. Well, we'll have to play with that and see if we can get the output to the stream somehow. That may be the challenge of this stream as I'm developing a VR game, but we're an AR game. What are you going to do? The other thing that's going on is there is, I don't know if up there, you can see those little squares that are being highlighted. They're showing up when my scanner passes over them. And even further beyond, you can't see them because they're black. There are black circles that are, I don't know, just kind of around the space. Now, I'm going to turn this off for a minute. I don't think that I have scanned the room. It might be that the room scanning only actually activates once you build an APK and then deploy an APK to the device. I tend to sort of work in Unity as much as I can because the iteration time is much faster. But at some point, obviously we got to validate the APK. I'll probably build that and deploy it later to take a look. But I wanted to at least accomplish something today, since I spent most of the day setting up and everything. I want to have something that I can, pass back to my buddy and say, hey, okay, here's a little more progress. So let me point out some other objects here. This building block pass-through, that is what provides the pass-through to the outside world, which is, again, why there's sort of no world. There's no skybox back here. There's no geometry to, show the floor or anything, because we have pass-through on. Pass-through overlay is whatever the magic he's providing is somehow using this to make this orangey, the thing I was describing as, I don't know a lot about, I'm no expert. I don't know a lot about it. I'm learning. But there's clearly some sense where this is probably providing the interesting overlay that I was seeing on the pass-through when I was sort of using the little gun to shine my way around, see what's going on. Not sure what this utility kit is for. I could look that up later. Find spawn positions, I believe, is when the device scans your room and creates the internal map of the walls and the ceiling and the floors and things. This, I believe, is a building block that will create these spawn positions, and you can see it probably refers to this tile, which if I look here, let me unlock my view here. I want to see what this prefab is. See, we've already set up a prefabs folder. It's another good thing to do, but whatever. Let's take a look. What are we looking at here? Where's my... There we go. Yeah, he's got this tile, and this tile looks like it has a couple of interesting things going on. There's some unlit red. That's kind of what we're seeing when the scanner highlights it. and then there's this other piece, which is the black. So something's going on where, by default, it's almost like it looks like this round spawn point. I saw them in the room. You guys couldn't see them because it was black on black. It's not very useful, but these guys were appearing sort of, I don't know, up in the ceiling, etc. And when you hovered over them with our scanner, you got this red thing. Interesting. All right, well, I'm not going to change any of that. I don't want to break anything. So that explains at least a couple of these. Now, again, I will learn more about how these work as we go, and you will learn along with me. But at the moment, that is what these building blocks are that have been dragged in. Occlusion dependencies. Sure sounds like dependencies that are required for occlusion. And then there's occlusion, and this is where he's got these objects here. And these objects, I believe the way occlusion works is kind of like in this little picture you can see here. If you're scanning your room, and your room has some pillows in it, and the thing that you're looking at is supposed to be on the wall behind the pillows, then something had to occlude the space where the pillows were. So that must be what this feature is about. I don't know because I haven't seen it yet, but that is my understanding of what this is supposed to do. I have no idea how it works, but it looks like these cubes and these guys, these sort of interesting standing characters who've been turned bright red. These guys appear to be occludable, one would imagine, by stuff in your room. Again, unfortunately, I'm not sure how to... I gotta run the APK and figure that out. There is another tool. Let's see if I can open that window back up. Meta had a tool. Oculus had a tool. The MetaQuest Developer Hub. Allow me to add that. Window. MetaQuest Developer HUD. Bam. All right. This is the MetaQuest Developer Hub. It is a tool that you download and install separately from all the other setup that you do. But the documentation that I pointed to refers to this. And this is where you can look at the device. This is my device, my personal device. I own this device. It is mine. And hopefully I'm not going to dox myself in some way. That's me, Russell Minor. Yep, that's me. And what you can do here is this is how you can actually put files onto the device with the file manager. If I built an APK in Unity, I could build one out, and then you can actually put it on the device. And that is different from playing it through the Unity editor. When I play through the Unity editor, I'm basically using the link cable and sort of, I don't know, some clever software that is trying to live demonstrate in sort of a, I don't know, some sort of not completely fully functional way. It shows your project on the device. So it's not building an APK, but it's somehow sort of pushing information to the device, possibly at runtime while you're playing. I'm not sure. I think that is what's happening. I'm not 100% sure. I would need to look into it more, but let's say the link cable allows you to play from Unity onto the device quickly, as opposed to doing something in Unity, making a build, copying the APK file onto the device the hard way. That's what you'd have to do if you were trying to go around. But the pros and cons are why it's faster. It doesn't have quite all the same functionality as what you get when you run it on the device itself. So that is a thing that you got to deal with and contend with. So I wonder if I can make a build. Why not? Let's see. I have build settings. Oh man, is every window not going to be available? I don't want to capture my whole screen. build settings does seem like one you might want to see. Wow, it's like it doesn't understand. Yeah, I guess I'll just have to dock them every time. Let me get rid of that guy. Okay. So I will dock the build settings, at least to demonstrate it, but boy, I'm not going to be keeping that. I like to have a lot of my windows undocked when I work. I suppose maybe I could eventually share my screen or share a portion of the screen, but it feels fraught with peril, so that the whole internet sees everything. I don't want that. At any rate, here's what we got. We're currently set to Android, and if I click on player settings, I get another window you guys can't see. Oh boy. All right, player settings, bam. And boy, if you've never used Unity, that's a whole thing. But there you go. Our product code name is Arcus. That's what we're calling this for now. Arcus was an ancient bow, I believe, used by the Greeks. But I'm not a historian. But we like to name our code names after interesting ancient weapons. And this is, the group that I'm making this with is Atlantica Interactive. Feel free to check us out. All right, so first I'm just looking to see, can I even build this thing? So I'm just kind of scanning through all of the different settings that we have in here. Like, all right, the bundle version code is sort of the number that you increment one at a time every time you're going to build. So I'll go ahead and bump it up to number 2, because why not? Since I'm the one who's making a new build, we'll still keep the version 0.1. There is an API key that you have to sign the APK with. That is under publishing settings. We have a key store. I'm going to now not show you that because I don't think I should share that. If I can ever get this window out. There we go. All right. Just getting all these things undocked. Boy, that's going to be a thing. Well, do I have the right key? I guess we'll find out. Probably. All right. I guess I can put this dock back in and we'll give it a shot. We'll do that. Ugh, I hate it docked. It's just not how I roll. Sorry. Guess you guys aren't going to look at it for now, but you don't care. You're not missing anything. All right, I'm going to hit build. Let's see what we get. I have a build folder. Make a new folder. All right, and I like to organize my build folders. You can't see this, but I don't know. Maybe this is useful if you hear it. I like to organize my build folders by build number. So version number 0.1, and this is build number 2. So we'll make a number 2 folder, and that's where it's going to go. And we'll call this Arcus. Do you want to save the changes? No, I don't. Oh look, I have to update my Android SDK. Delightful. So, oh wow, it ran PowerShell. What is it doing? It's running commands. Do I have Android Studio on this machine? It's just doing it. I love it. On my 9-to-5 gig, I make mobile games, and so I'm very familiar with playing with the various iOS or Android tools and monkeying my way through them to get what I need done. And one of the fun things you do is you do have to manage the versions of SDKs that exist. The Android SDK updates periodically, and when Unity, if you build an iOS game, you build essentially a project that runs in Xcode. Xcode is the Apple development environment. You can't build directly to a file for iPhone. But what you can do is Unity can build directly to Android devices, basically to a file for an Android device. That file is called an APK. And so you have to tell Unity, Unity has to have access to an Android software development kit or an SDK, and it has to have newer versions as time goes on. And so when I just told it, you can't see it again, I'm afraid you're staring at a very boring screen. Here, I'll go to this while it's building, maybe. There we go. It's me. What it did was it looked at the version of the SDK that it knew about, and that wasn't good enough, and it ran some sort of command to try to update itself, which was nice. If you want to manually manage your Android development kit, you usually can run the Android Studio, which is a tool that's used to basically build Android products. But as one of the sub features that it has is it can run it can run the tools management for the SDK. Let me turn this one back on again. Maybe got that window back. There you go. So let's see, will it do browser? It does tabs. All right, so if I looked up Android Studio, this is it. This is the tool, Android Studio. You download it, this tool. Funny enough, also I think based off of Eclipse, which I mentioned Rider, my code editor, is based on. So it's kind of funny how it lives on in different ways. At any rate, you download the Studio Editor, and one of the things you do is you'd manage the SDK tools. And this is not what I would show you. This is some documentation about that. But the beauty is the tools, there's a way when that is open to manage your software development kit versions, things like that. Again, probably a topic for some other time if that's what we get into. But in the meantime, I think it finished building. So let's see. I do have an APK. All right, let's share the developer HUD. And let's see. Can I put it onto this device? Oh, that's another old project. Let's go ahead and uninstall that one just to keep things nice and clean. And I think I'll be able to just drag and drop the file right on there. You can't see my window, but that's what I'm going to do. Definitely not releasing it. Let's connect it. All right, so this is the AB Arcus file. All right, it's on there. Now, how am I going to show you the device? I don't know that I can. Welcome to my first stream. Lots of little challenges. How to show you what the device is seeing. I don't know that I can. Well, let me try it. I realize you're looking at a bunch of boring. Here, we'll put it on. Let's look at the performance analyzer. Maybe something will be exciting happening here. Let's see if I can fire it up. All right. Oh, look. Now we're off center. This happens. There we go. I've centered myself. I might have to quit. I'm going to go back to the Unity home. Or, sorry, to the meta home. Here's the meta home button. There you go. Disable quest link. All right, so I'm disabling the quest link. I'm not sure what you guys can see. Probably not much. But somewhere. No, it seems to want to go in there. Well, let's see, maybe I can run it from the... welcome to a whole lot of going back and forth. Let's see if I can run it from here. That's an easy way to do it. Okay, it is. It's launching the app. And there we go. I'm in a space. It did not prompt me to scan the room, but I did scan this room once in the past when I was running a different game. So I don't know if the quest retained that information. It did seem to put the spawning dots pretty close to where my walls are. So that's interesting. Or they were, I think that's different from where they were when I was just looking. So cool. I don't know how any of this works, but it's a start. Let's say it's still a success because the whole mission there was simply to run it, build it, and run it. And now I've proven at least I can do that. Got to take these little wins when you can. All right, let's stop this app. Let's turn off this visual. Did you see anything cool? I obviously couldn't see what was going on during the performance analyzer. Did we see anything? Nothing. Sweet. Sweet. Maybe I didn't hit record. I haven't played much with this. Oh my gosh, now it's popping open. It's popping open. Oh my god, that's pretty neat. It's a beautiful, yeah, let me share that again. Look at this. Turn off the developer HUD. Turn this back on. It popped open when I clicked record on this device, or what is this called? The performance analyzer. I click record, and when I click stop, it popped it open on this window. That is pretty neat. So this is obviously performance just for the second or two. Gosh, that is some detail. Okay, well that's a lot of stuff that I don't know quite how to interpret, so we're gonna leave that for now, but good to know it's there. If I want to capture data, I can understand more. Okay, again, can I accomplish anything? I think for now, just thinking here, what can I do that's small but will make a small positive thing? Audio. I've implemented audio systems several times in the past, and so maybe just as a little bit of code, we can. Oh boy, he's got very little in here right now, huh? We need inputs, we need audios, we need a menuing system. We got a lot to do. And I'm overwhelmed with both streaming this for the first time and figuring out what to work on. All right. Let's take a look at other projects here. On our last project, we did have some useful code, so I bet I can pull some of that over and make some use of it. All right, let's see here. You guys can't see my other project window, but I've opened the rider panel for another set of things because I'm going to see what I can pull over here. Boy, what do I have here? I should have a sound manager, right? Well, let's start with that. I don't see a scripts folder. There it is. Okay. We'll add an audio directory. Yep, we'll go ahead and add that to Git. We're using Bitbucket, which is using Git ultimately. And I like to use their visual interface source tree. You know, I can do some command lines, but I don't use it as often. I usually use source tree to just see what we're working on here. Let me see, do I have, gosh. It's like there are so many elements to this streaming thing if I'm not sharing my whole screen. Let's add a new one. Source tree. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. This is source tree. Make it a little smaller. There we go. Source tree is just the like visual interface of the Bitbucket repository. You could do all this from the command line. I like to use the interface. I have definitely used the command line on occasion. I don't know, some people prefer a command line, but I don't know. I like an interface. So you can see that we have very little history in here, but what I'm going to be doing is adding some folders and some initial files, and then see if we can get a audio system sort of set up from the ground. Bloop, blop, blorp. Okay. What am I doing? Let's see. Looking at our last project. Well, we had an audio manager. Oh, Singleton. Oh, you friend. All right, well, looks like we grabbed some other things. We're going to end up pulling over a few things from the past. If I was awesome, I would make a whole Unity project where all it does is have a slew of elements that I could bring in every time I set up a new project. That would be useful. All right, so first we're gonna add a singleton class. This is just a handy thing to have to I might have even gotten this from somebody else. I got some portion. I think we've got it. We might have gotten a piece of it and then altered it a few times. But let's see what we got here. The singleton class is just something to have an easy way to refer to the idea that you're going to have a singleton in the game, and you want to be able to access it from anywhere. So there are different methods, obviously. I freeze up when I'm like thinking about too many things at the same time. So what is a singleton? Singleton is the idea is you're going to have one instance of a class, or think of it just sort of like an object, although that word might be overloaded here. You're going to have one instance of it in the game, and the idea here is this class kind of helps to make sure that you keep only one instance. It tries to make it that way. So how does it work? This class is set up where you're going to declare another object. So let's say, let's go back here to our audio manager singleton. That is the next guy we're going to make here. Should have references to this guy. Beautiful. Okay. So I've got a few more objects I got to make here. There's an audio source, which I believe comes in already. Yep, from Unity Engine. I'll explain what all this is in a minute. I'm just trying to kind of pull it over and get it quickly. Okay, so singleton. What does singleton do? Singleton is the idea is you're gonna have one and only one of this thing inside your game, in your program. And so I'm leveraging the mono behavior. So I'm starting where, if you're working in Unity, then you should be very familiar with the mono behavior. It's kind of like the base object of all the interesting stuff. And this base object has a life cycle, and that life cycle is something that you can hook into. So that's pretty useful. And in this case, what we're doing is we're going to hook it to the life cycle of awake. And what we're doing is we're saying, look, if the local variable mInstance, which is a static variable described by this class once it gets initialized, and in fact, here's the usage of this thing, right? I'm saying the audio manager singleton is a singleton of type audio manager singleton, which I should mention, this is, what is this called? Dynamic typing? No, I forget the term. Templating. This is, I believe it's called templating. I should look this up. Boy, look, when I'm streaming and telling you things, it's like I gotta know what they're called. So, hold on. I'm gonna make sure that's what it's called. I believe these are templates. Hold on. Or is it called a generic? Oh, look at you. Generic classes. Maybe. Yeah, it might be called a generic class. Well, I forget the term. That's how life works. But anyway, what this guy does is you're saying I can declare a singleton and it will be of a particular thing. And I've also specified that where this template thing is in fact itself a type of singleton T. It's a little weird, a little sort of circular, but the idea here is now I'm saying this audio manager singleton is a singleton of type audio manager singleton. That thing that is the type must be itself a thing that is a singleton, right? It's kind of weird, but that's how it works. And now the idea is you can say, I have an instance of that class type. Because remember, T was sort of, we're passing it in dynamically in a way. And so we're saying, when I'm talking about, I have a reference to myself, but really to only one copy of myself, which is the instance. And if that instance exists when the mono behavior calls awake, then we're saying like, hey, I'm already initialized, and by the way, this is who this is where I am and what I am, so that I can know that there's a problem. Meanwhile, there's a static method called instance, so that if I call audio manager singleton dot instance, because it is one of these singletons, I can get a reference to that one thing. There's a little bit of clever code about if you're shutting down, it tries to say, we're shutting down, just leave me alone because bad things happen. But meanwhile, there's a lock because we're trying to make sure only one person can get to it at a time. In fact, I killed all this in the past. Yeah, this is old code. Anyway, the idea is if I'm null, I report that I'm null, but generally I'm just going to return the instance of myself. When the application is quitting, which is another mono behavior, I believe that's a mono behavior method, then I say that I'm shutting down, which is why we know if you're shutting down, you tell the world that we're about to shut down, so don't do anything. So the point of this is, oh, I just broke something. I probably deleted an extra curly. Yes, maybe. What's the problem here? Oh, the class has no close curly. Great. Okay, so this audio manager is now a singleton. So now when we refer to it, we can just, anywhere in our code, we can always say audio manager singleton dot instance, and we will get our hands on this thing. It's not very exciting, but it's a start. What else are we going to get? We're going to get I make here? This guy. I'm not sure what that was for. This I am going to get. It's been a while. Audio clip for one shot. Again, I'm just kind of lifting code from my old project to sort of see what I want. And of course, I'm like, do I remember how all this worked? I think so. So this is a mono behavior, and in particular, it's going to point to an audio clip that will specify, and then there'll be a method called play clip. The play clip just tells the singleton instance, the one that we will have, because we haven't hooked it up yet, but there'll be one. And we'll say, I want you to play a non-spatial clip. And what does play non-spatial do? We haven't looked at the audio clip thing. What this does is, it says, is there a non-spatialized audio source? And if there is, then we just play one shot that source. Play one shot is a method that's in the, built-in Unity code to play an audio clip one time. Now, this is important to note that it's non-spatialized because as we get more advanced and we get further along, I don't remember if it's in this particular, I don't remember what I did in here for the last project, but there are spatialized audio sources and there are non-spatialized audio sources. So the idea here is this one will just kind of play in your ears no matter where you are, no matter where your head is or where you're looking, and it'll sound the same. Whereas a spatialized audio source, you actually have it in space, in 3D space, around the headset, and it will sound differently depending upon where your head is in relation to that source. But at the moment, I'm just trying to put some basics in. All right, let me look at this a little more. I suppose we can go back to Unity for a minute here. Let's go to that guy. Oops. Oh man, is that going to be a problem? My hotkeys for switching the scenes. do they do things? I think they do. They do things in the editor, so I'm going to have to watch out for that. That's going to be a problem. All right, so now we're back in the scene. The next thing I'm noticing is right now we have this prefabs folder. There's very little in here. So my friend and I are going to work together, and there's at least two of us. There might be three of us working on this before we're all done here. And so a thing you have to do when you're doing Unity development is really consider how are you going to share files between you. So we have our source control system, so that's cool. That's a good start. And source control works really well for files like code files, C# files, etc. But it is not great at merging when two people work on something independently and something changes. Like right now, you can see this scene has a little asterisk because it wants to be saved. It thinks I've touched something, however tiny. I've made some tiny adjustment. And if I save this scene, then it's going to write out that scene to a file. Now there's a file that's a scene file. And in theory, you can merge two edited scene files, but in practice, it stinks. So the kind of rule of thumb that I've lived by, and others may disagree, maybe there's something more clever, but I haven't found it yet, is basically don't merge scene files. And so a better move is you break objects into prefabs. Prefabs is Unity's way to sort of encapsulate a little bit of the game object tree, and once you've encapsulated it, then you can work on it, and you don't have to be concerned that you don't have to be concerned that it's sort of it is encapsulated in and of itself. Sorry, of course I was looking over at the stream, and of course that means my brain froze up because I can only do one thing at a time. I was making sure it was streaming okay. That's what I get for trying to do two things. All right, so what you do is you create a prefab that is basically encapsulating a set of game objects, and then the thing that you have in your hierarchy is actually an instance of the thing that you have encapsulated. So in this case, he has made a couple already. There's this cube. If I was to look at the cube on its own, hey, look at that. It's a cube. It's basically one game object with a bunch of behaviors on it to give it, make it a box with a mesh. It's got a position, right? It's got a material on it. Cool. Well, where is this thing? Oh boy, we've got the next problem. Every time I start a new project, I find all the little tools that I didn't install, but we'll come back to those tools in just a second. I suspect he has these cubes. He's at least he's referencing these cubes. Maybe not. Well, here's a different prefab. The person who's all red. If I select this object in the hierarchy, you can see that under models, because he's already obtained some models from the asset store. He's got this, old man or whatever that is. And this model, this whole thing is, it's probably a Mixamo object, which you can look into that. It's a whole technology for having 3D rigged models, usually humanoid, although I think it's not exclusively humanoid, but mostly it's humanoids. They have a ton of animations. That's kind of their thing. It's all about the animations. That as long as the rigging is the same, then the animation will work off the rigging. Again, I'm not an expert in there. I've dallied, but it's a thing. It's a whole nother discipline. That said, that is a prefab, which is this object, and so he's got two instances of this one guy. If I was to go in and change this object, oh man, what have I launched? I clicked and some 3D viewer was coming up. I don't want to see that. If I was to alter this thing, both instances will change because I've altered the like contained object. At any rate, that's a long way to say prefabs are great, and it is useful to take your scene and break it into prefabs. That will also prevent two people working together from accidentally overwriting each other on the same scene, because while in one scene you'll have lots and lots and lots of objects, and it's pretty unlikely that two of you are going to work on the same thing at the same time. But you may definitely work in the same scene at the same time. So let's say if I was going to, I was going to alter this cube so that it did new things, I would make a prefab and then I work on the cube. Like, let's drag it in. Say, oh look, I got a cube. It's right here. There's my tiny cube. He looks so great. Now, I can work on this cube, and if I alter it in some way, like let's say I dive into the prefab here, and then let's say I changed its material. Instead of being, an albedo of white, maybe, it's not going to let me alter it. Cool. Instead of being the default material, maybe it'd be some other material. Great. Can't even change. Can't even tell. So many things to do. Okay, well, let's say you're going to alter this object. If I save that object, all the instances would be changed. All these would all update, so that's nice. So you get sort of one-to-many relationships. But in addition, when I went to put, if I went to go submit that in SourceTree, then we would see that the file, the prefab file, had been altered, not the scene. That was a lot of garbage talk. There was probably nothing interesting for you there. Cool. Glad we did that. All right. At any rate, turns out streaming, you work much slower. Where was I? I was in Unity. Great. All right. I think maybe I'm going to not talk for a little bit, and I'm going to see if I can open up my other project for reference. And I'm going to see if I can set up this audio system so I can actually get something done here. So I guess just enjoy the music. You can watch what I'm doing. I'll probably make a comment or two here and there, but I'll try to talk a little less, just so I'm not hurting my brain trying to talk and code at the same time. All right, right here what I'm doing is I'm just sort of copying over the idea that there's a series of audio clips and I'm just referring to them in some interesting way. So we'll make some temporary ones. I'm obviously not going to use these. In the game I was lifting this from, we had different player modes, and I wanted, as you entered different player modes, I wanted the sound to play so that you'd notice, oh, I switched player modes. In this case, we'll just make like 2 of these just for giggles, and we'll call this one just for super simplicity. I guess the idea is so that I'd have a reference to this everywhere, and I could just say, hey, play audio list, whatever. I'm going to make a testing directory so I can just make a new test audio system. Mono behavior. So this is just, hey, when the game starts, or when this object starts, we're going to talk to our audio manager singleton, and we're going to play a clip non-spatially, and it'll be the clip that is the clip specified by sound1. I got to wire that up, but I'm waiting for my other class to open, or my other, I have a second copy of Unity that I'm starting right now that's pointing at the other project, but of course a different version, all that stuff. So we'll deal with that soon enough. But we'll make an audio assets folder. Let's go grab some audio assets from that previous product. What was it called? That is what it was called. A wonderful resource for all of you who are developing, and you're looking for maybe, just some if you're looking for just some art or some sounds, kenny.nl. This is a bunch of free assets that you can use. They're great when you're prototyping. It's very useful. If you look at the assets, there's different kits, there's user interface elements, which is useful. There's some models, there's sounds. Whoops, I just passed some sounds there. Like here's some audio. You can do like, oh, there's sci-fi sounds. You can listen to them and check them out. Very useful set of assets to just have. And whenever you're just sort of you're just trying to move forward, try to figure out what you can get. You can also get some things that might be good in a little indie game if you're just gonna release something simple. So I don't know who's responsible for Kenny.nl, but I love them deeply. They've made some great stuff. At the moment, though, I'm going to continue on my journey, and I'm going to make another little folder here. And I like to try to keep track of what I'm getting and where it's from. I'm going to pop that open in Explorer. And then I'm going to grab some files. Actually, I'll make another folder here. I don't know if that folder name matters, but that's what it was in my other one. Oh, okay, yeah. There's a license that you should respect. How can I do this nicely? Oh, that's it. Okay. Making an audio folder. Does that update on the live? It sort of does. I have to click on it though. Ugh, do I have these things just downloaded and not with the meta files? I'm wondering if I pull the meta files from the other version. It'll be weird. Don't know that I want that. So I think I found the source. Yep, there we go. So here we go. Much better. All right, now I can go back here. We'll delete these. And I can just copy this. Great. Okay. Just copying over some audio. Oh, you're not even looking at the right thing. I'm a terrible human, but there's no one to yell at me yet. Yeah. All right. We'll get the hang of this. Okay. So now in here, I've copied this over into the Kenny interface sounds. There's audio, and now here's a whole bunch of sounds. I wonder if you guys can hear these. Where is this? There it is. Nope, you probably can't. So I will see if I can add the sound for that. Audio input capture. The only option is to that's not what I want. I want audio output capture. That's what I'm actually after. I think desktop audio will probably work, although it might duplicate with the let's see. I'm concerned it'll be too much. I don't even see it. It's the listing right now. What is the deal? Let's try again. I'm gonna guess that's it. I can sort of capture my headphones. Let's see. It's funny now this. Oh, I see. This is the microphone. It's the audio. Okay, that is right. Great. Oh, I see. Now you're hearing double audio. Now it's just my whole desktop audio basically that you're hearing, but you can hear this noise. There we go. So now at least you can hear what I hear. Okay, where was I? The other Unity. The other Unity. What does it have set up? Been a while since I've done all this. Just opening another scene over there. There we go. I think it's just that simple. All right, so let's kill these cubes. I want them. I'm gonna hide this occlusion thing. I guess we'll make an audio setup. And this guy's going to have inside of him some children. Yet. Okay, I gotta replicate this from the other thing as well. Let's see, how does this work? It's funny, I gotta look at the old product so that I can understand what I'm looking at. See. All right. So we have our camera rig. If I look closer at this rig here, let's see. Yes. Okay. This ultimately has, as a part of it, this OVR camera rig, which has an OVR manager and an OVR. And this OVR was Oculus VR. That's what that OVR stands for. So, what do I want to do here? Kind of looking at the old project and trying to remember why this is set up the way it was set up. I guess for now, I'm just going to leave this guy out here. I don't think I need to keep it as a child of the rig, but you could choose to do that if you really wanted to. But I think what matters here is there's going to be there is an object that you do need to have in here. Oh no, never mind. This won't matter because it's non-spatialized. Okay. Okay. So I can create an empty here. I bet this content is amazing. You guys are like, what? What? Okay, I'm going to copy over some values just for convenience. Also, there was a mixer in the other game. but it's been a while since I played with this and figured it out. I'm not going to worry about it too much at the moment, but there's at least one mixer. In other games, I have made multiple mixers and made them relate to each other so you can have like music and sound effects, and then you can have things so that when the sound effects play, it ducks the music so that you can make sure you can hear the sound effect while it's going on. I'm not going to get that far today. I'm just trying to do sort of some basic stuff. But at the moment, I've got one mixer, which is this spatializer mixer, which is funny because I guess there's only this one. I'll make another mixer. Because this non-spatializer sound needs to refer to a mixer, and I think the one it's going to refer to is this one. Why? In the other game, it was referring to the spatializer mixer. That seems like that is not what you want. We'll do this one. So this is now going to the non-spatializer. We do not play on Awake. I hate that. I think this was for music. Whatever, we'll leave it set. I'm copying the parameters, but boy, I'm not sure. Was there something weird we did? Doppler level. Spread. Doppler level 0. We want custom roll off. And this was 100. It seemed to work well in that other product. Now, this may change because the other product had a very different... Oh my gosh, this is a very different sound profile. Let's go back to... Oh, this was cord. Sorry. Nothing like staring at things, trying to figure them out. So, this is an audio source that has been placed in the game. In the other project, this audio source was in a location that ultimately was a child of the camera rig. So for the moment, maybe that's what we'll do. We'll put it as a child of, let's say, in the tracking space. Let's put it under your center eye. And this non-spatialized audio source was always sort of referred to your eye. Now, it's not going to matter because it's not spatialized. So in fact, let's not do that because I don't want to make it more confusing. People will think it's spatialized. Oops. This has a roll-off. This curve is what's the distance at which the sound changes, except we're not going to use 3D sounds, so I don't know why this is even referring to it. But I think the other game had flaws in it because I know we had a couple of spatialized sound, and I think that they weren't going through this audio manager to play the sound. But I think this audio manager was assuming spatialized sound, even though it's called non-spatialized sound. Good times, good times. This is what happens when you work fast and you make mistakes. But hey, that's what we're here for now. 1-1. Spatial blend. This is set all the way to right. I'm not sure why that would be, but okay. Reverb zone mix is set to 0. I have to look these up to remember what they're doing here, but let's not worry about it. This has a custom roll off to 100. There's a curve here, although their curve is like... It's like here. Yay. I don't know if that's right. We'll have to play it in the game. It's probably a terrible idea, but whatever. It's fine. Less Jake. I hate it. I hate everything already. Let's not do this. Let's just do a linear roll-off for now. Let's keep it simple. A problem that can happen is you have something that's playing a sound, but the sound plays far enough away, and then this configuration means the sound is gone. This probably won't happen as often in this game. In the other game, we've played with scales a lot, so you were tiny, or the world was tiny, or things like that, and I think that would mess with these sounds quite a bit. But again, I don't want this to be a 3D sound, so why am I fretting over 3D sound settings? But let's burn that bridge later. Meanwhile, this had a Meta XR audio source, which you need to specify in order for the XR to work right. This has enable spatialization off. Okay, and that's what it was in the other one. It definitely was off. This had a gain boost of 10 decibels. Okay. So, in the other project, and thus in this project, it does seem to be the case that when I'm specifying this one audio source is not spatialized. It has a bunch of 3D settings, but those actually won't matter because we're not going to spatialize. Now we have an audio source that's referring to this one mixer, which is this non-spatialized mixer. And now this audio manager is going to refer to this audio source, that being the one source. So now all of this is so that when your code comes along and says, hey, Singleton, please play clip non-spatially, the clip you get passed will refer to this source, and this source will play that clip one time. That was a lot of effort for what is ultimately a very simple thing, but it's partly because I was looking at the other project trying to figure out, why are you doing that? All right, now that we've done that, we can go back to this, and we can say, okay, well, now that we've got that squared away, let's go back to our prefabs. I think I have it. No, maybe I don't. We should have a prefabs folder and now an audio folder, and I'm going to put our audio prefab here. So now, when I work on the audio system, I don't have to break the whole scene every time I do it. I can go dive into the audio, and I can say, okay, now that we're in here, let's add some functionality to this guy. I want to have some example clips. I'm going to create our audio list. This had an audio list singleton, and there were a couple of sounds, and then we'll go ahead and we'll add a couple of sounds in here. So this is sound 1, and we'll add another one. And now we're going to add audio clip. Maybe. What are all these scripts? This refers to a clip. I don't need. Is that what that needed? What was the audio list? It's funny, this audio list refers to just clips. So I think that's what I want to do. Sorry, you can't even see me as I'm popping around between code because you're just looking at Unity. More improvements to this system are going to need to be made. I just need to specify clips here. I don't even need to refer to the objects. Get out of here. Great, look at that. It was way simpler than I was thinking. These are just clips, and audio clips are in the library. So now that we have some, let's go pick a couple out from our actual audio assets. What's that sound? That's awfully brief. How about maximize? Well, that's a weird one. There you go. Minimize 9. Is there a maximize 9? There sure is. Great. So here we'll make a minimize 9. And here we'll maximize 9. Cool. Okay. So now we have an audio list singleton, which I will indicate here. Just so we have a reference to them. We have our audio manager singleton, which I will also note. Good to note singletons when they exist. Now our audio guide is updated, and now I've edited this guy, this prefab in place. We've got a thing, and now we have one more thing, which is I'm going to add my testing object. That's not what I wanted. What did I call it? Test audio system. It's almost like I knew what I was doing. All this stuff is complicated and heavy in the beginning. And I'm, of course, trying to pick things up from previous projects, and I'm trying to stream at the same time. I'm definitely trying to do a lot all at once. So I apologize if it's a little scatterbrained, but we're getting there. Okay. And I will also make a prefab out of this testing system here. Just so that as I monkey with this, I won't ruin every possible thing. Okay, so now I'm going to pause the chill music for a minute. Again, thanks to Chill Hop. All right, let's see. What happens if we just hit play here? I should hear a sound. Of course, I see a lot of errors. I'm not sure what I heard. There's these depth things. I'm not sure what that's about. All right, I'm going to put on the headset. It could have been in the headset video, which happens sometimes. All right, hold on as I drive my desktop from the VR. Might actually tell that thing to loop. Nope, didn't play that sound. All right, so what am I missing? Tell the game to not play maximized. All right, let's double check here. The singleton says it just tells it to play clip non-spatial. The test says when you start, call this thing play clip non-spatial. Let's put a little. Whoa! I'm throwing the controls around everywhere. I'm actually gonna add another little bit here because if I want to make it loop, I think there's a delay. How do I do it? I thought there's a way to tell it to loop. Oh, you set it to loop first, I guess. Weird. I have a better idea. I can make. I'll set up a second source, and that way there'll be 2. One loops and one doesn't loop. Oh, this one said loop, doesn't it? Weird. All right. I feel like when you say play one shot, I think that's the key. When you say play one shot, it is set up to just play the one time, as opposed to play, which I think will loop because that checkbox was looped. But, it's one way to find out. And I'll even put here some debugs just to be sure we're here. And let's have this. Yeah, cool. All right, let's try this one. All right, let's give it a go. See what happens. I'm going to remove one ear from the headphones here. Nothing. Okay. Well, the audio came from Unity when I turned it off, but when it was playing, definitely can't hear it in the device for some reason. What am I missing? Oh. Is there an audio source you hook up in the Unity, in the headset? Let's see here. Time to go to our documentation. I believe I have a Chrome window somewhere so we can look together. All right. Set up spatial audio. It's a pretty good way to. Granted, we're doing non-spatial, but still. Do we have the audio SDK? We must. We must have it. Let's see here. Check the package manager. You can't see, but I've got a list of all the packages. And I do have the audio SDK installed and everything's fine. I suppose another thing I do is run this little guy. Sometimes as a setup tool, and sometimes it has a problem, like it requires a fix. So I didn't run that before. That is a thing that's handy with this, but now that I've done this, the problem is indicated here. We want to have an audio listener in the scene. Aha! We do have a problem. This audio thing was outside of the camera rig. That's a listener. There can only be one? That is not what I wanted. It took me to the source code of how it works. So I think it should be in the camera rig. Should be like somewhere from out here. Oh, we have a main camera. That could be a problem. Well, this is there's an audio listener right there. And this camera rig, I think something will also get one, maybe. Let's walk our way down. Yeah, right here. Center eye anchor has an audio listener. So I'm gonna go back to this main camera. I'm gonna remove this. Well, let's see what happens. Save that. Give it a go. I don't know how often this updates. If it's on play or... Oh, I've got an NRE. Look at that, because I disabled this. Haha. Oh, I'm a fool. Sometimes you think the problem is much more complicated than it actually is. Oh no, never mind. I thought I had to reference this thing, but I don't because it's a singleton. My testing object just calls it automatically. I don't have to point to it or make a reference to it. It's one of the nice things about a singleton system. Uh, the downside is you can lose track of things. But let's give it a go. See what happens. Well, I moved to a yellow Oculus thing, so that's cool. Or it's still complaining. I don't know. Don't hear anything. Game dev, am I right? All right, well, I'm coming up on my time. I think I'm going to pause here. I'll debug this a little more, see if I can figure out what the problem is. But I think I'm going to end the stream. If I find the problem, I'll let you guys know what it was. But I appreciate you tuning in, checking us out. And as we get better at this, I'm sure we're going to improve and make it tighter, more interesting. But for now, thank you very much, and we'll see you later. Bye.